It is Miami Dolphins mock draft time. I am Nic Rohloff from Dolphins Today by Chat Sports. This is 3.0. It is the first mock draft we're doing in the NFL offseason, but the third 2025 mock draft. We did two of them in season, pre-trade deadline, post-trade deadline. We're doing all 7 rounds, no trades. I think it's a little too early to project trades in mock drafts. We'll do those type of things as we get closer to the draft in March and April, but right now, no trades. And I think it's fun to do no trades. Why? Because the Dolphins have 10 projected draft picks. They have a lot of picks in this upcoming draft, and some of them are comp pick projected, Robert Hunt, Christian Wilkins, other comp picks as well. But they have a lot of potential choices to make in the NFL draft this upcoming year. So I think it's fun to get to know a wide array and a wide variety of NFL prospects that we could be discussing more in depth as Miami Dolphins or around the draft time. But I want it to be known, if you guys want more Miami Dolphins mock drafts on the channel, let me know by showing me you like it by hitting that thumbs up icon. We may do one every single week from now until late April when the draft comes around. But you got to show me you want that by hitting that thumbs up icon. All right, let's jump into it. Dolphins hold the 13th overall pick. Yeah, we're going Kelvin Banks Jr., the offensive lineman from Texas. He is officially declared for the NFL draft after Texas was eliminated in the semifinals against Ohio State in the college football playoffs, and he is going to be one of the top offensive linemen out there. You will see him and Will Campbell mentioned as the 2 top offensive tackles, and I know he is an offensive tackle at Texas, but I think he could be a guard in the NFL. We'll tell you why in just a second, but his numbers this past year at Texas was elite. You see the grades on screen, only allowed 1 sack. Now, I know a lot of people out there that will knock Kelvin Banks Jr. actually will tell you that the reason why his numbers were so good were actually because Texas got the ball out of their hands in the passing game very quick and did not allow the possibility of giving up sacks. And you saw when Quinn Ewers had to hold the ball a little bit longer against Ohio State, how those pass rushers of JT Tuimatalo, botched that name, and Sawyer were able to get to Ewers. And when you talk about Kelvin Banks more as a fit for the Dolphins, and he did play left tackle 3 straight years as a Texas Longhorn. So he has a ton of experience as a starter at left tackle. And you might say, well, we don't need a left tackle. We have Austin Jackson right tackle. We have Taron Armstead at left tackle. And if he does retire, Patrick Paul will be your left tackle after he was the 2024 second-round pick out of Houston. Well, Kelvin Banks Jr. actually has sub-34-inch arms. And I know this is getting very technical and drafty on you, but there is a threshold that usually prospects have to meet to be surefire left tackles, offensive tackles in the NFL. Well, the sub-34-inch arms kind of throw up a red flag for Kelvin Banks Jr., and some people also look at his slow feet at times. He's not the most athletic guy in terms of being able to drop back quickly in pass coverage, and with the arms and the maybe slow feet concerns, although he is still very good and a first-round prospect, no doubt, many people believe he can be an offensive guard in the NFL, which is music to my ears because it might make him fall in the draft because guards aren't as valuable as offensive tackles, so he might not go top 5, he might not go top 10, and he might be sitting there on the board for Miami at 13. With them having to replace Liam Eichenberg and Robert Jones at left guard and right guard, then Kelvin Banks Jr. is a really solid option and would be a home run pick for Miami at 13 if he's on the board. What say you? What position should the Dolphins target in the first round of the NFL draft? I think safety and offensive line are the 2 biggest ones. Let me know which one you think should be the one called off at number 13. I mentioned safety. We're going to go right to it in the second round here. Xavier Watts, the safety from Notre Dame. And if you have not checked him out, be ready to watch him on Monday in the College Football National Championship game as Notre Dame takes on Ohio State. I am a big fan of Xavier Watts. I think he is the clear-cut number 2 safety in this class. I think Malachi Starks and his tier of his own, but I think Xavier Watts is right there as that number 2 safety. He is an excellent tackler. He is a ball hawk. He finds himself around the football consistently. He is a leader on that Notre Dame defense, and he is going to be someone that I trust to be a captain in the NFL. That's the type of character, that's the type of guy Xavier Watts is. And it's not just the character. The play on the field is absolutely elite. When you looked at his stats in 2024 for the Golden Domers, he had 60 tackles. tackles. He only allowed 18 receptions on 32 targets, which is very good for a safety. And how about those numbers that you see on screen, folks? He had 6 interceptions and did not allow a touchdown in coverage. Now, Notre Dame's schedule, not that hard. Just put that out there. Not many passing attacks that you had to play, but he still put up great numbers. PFF loves him. Xavier Watts, to me, would be a great replacement for the secondary. We'll talk a lot about safety replacements and what will happen with Javon Holland, and they're not going to bring back Jordan Poyer, but Javon Holland potentially returning, not returning in the offseason. If he leaves or if he returns, I would love to still add Xavier Watts to that safety room in the second round, but he might creep up to a first-round pick in the pre-draft process. I'm going to go wide receiver here in the third round. The Dolphins right now are still projected to get a pair of third-round comp picks because of Robert Hunt and Christian Wilkins. We'll see what it is officially when we get to that announcement later on in the offseason. But Pat Bryant is someone that I really have an eye for here and would be a great pick here in late third round, late day 2. He's got great size. He's 6'3", he's 200 pounds, he's got a great catch radius, and one thing you will hear me say, and a common theme all offseason long, is the Miami Dolphins adding a wide receiver to the boundary that can be a contested catch guy and be a threat in the red zone. Miami simply doesn't have that. They've had to rely on screens into Achane and Jonnu Smith because they've been unable to run it inside the 5 and 10, and they've been unable to just throw it up to a guy. They rely on speed and scheme. Well, Pat Bryant could be someone that just goes up there and just beats you man-to-man like a Mike Evans. I'm not going to compare him to Mike Evans, but that's the type of size we're dealing with here at 6'3", 200. And there's some advanced stats that I really enjoy here that would make him an ideal target on day 2 of the NFL draft. I don't think he's going to climb up into the first round by any stretch of the imagination. Maybe he gets to late day or late second round, but I think he'll be there in the third round. He's only had 1 drop this past year. His contested catch rate was 66.7%. He had 12 deep catches, was top 21 in all of college football this past year, and had a great yards per route run. I am a big fan of Pat Bryant. He has good hands, great catch radius, can go up and high point the football, good size. I think Pat Bryant is an excellent option for Miami on day 2 of the NFL draft if they want to address the wide receiver position, which I would recommend. We'll go back to the offensive line here. Armaj Reed-Adams, the interior offensive lineman from Texas A&M, he is someone that I think could be a good fit for the Miami Dolphins here. He is a clear-cut offensive lineman on the interior, so there's no offensive tackle. This is going to be either a left guard or right guard. And with the Dolphins having to replace both left guard and right guard, well, you could do it with Kelvin Banks if you draft him at 13 like I have in this mock, and you could maybe do it with Armaj Reed-Adams here with your other comp pick late in the third round if you get one. He performed very well at Texas A&M this past year. They had a good running game. You see his PFF grades on screen. He was actually a better run blocker than he was a pass blocker for the Aggies. And here's another thing that I really like, and I wanted to make sure I got this number correctly. According to Pro Football Focus, Armaj Reed-Adams had an 83.6 grade when zone blocking. Why is that important? Well, Miami, in their scheme with Mike McDaniel, prioritizes athletic offensive linemen that can get out on the perimeter, can pull, get out in space, get their hands on the linebackers, the safeties. Armaj Reed-Adams, I thought, did a really good job of showcasing that at Texas A&M this year. I like his athleticism, his ability to get to the second level as a blocker. I think he would be someone I have my eye on for a day 2 target on the interior offensive line position. We'll see if Chris Grier and Mike McDaniel feel the same way. We have a lot more players to talk about on today's show, but we are sponsored by GameTime, the best way to get your tickets. And if you want to go see a live sporting event, comedy show, concert, GameTime is the best way to get your tickets. So many great features, one of them being GameTime Picks. GameTime Picks filters out the fluff to show you the incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. They also have the lowest price guaranteed. If you find a ticket on a different service in the same exact seat, same exact section, row, whole 9 yards, they will actually credit you 110% of your difference. Also get a panoramic view of the seat in the app before you buy, so you know exactly where you're sitting. You won't get blocked by a pole, a stanchion, a board, nothing. You know exactly where you're sitting. GameTime makes purchasing tickets so easy, and boy, do I like easy. So download the app today and create an account, and when you create an account and use code CHATSPORTS, that will get you $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, first purchase only, but use code CHATSPORTS Pass to get $20 off that first purchase. Shout out to Game Time. What time is it? It is game time. We're going to go to the interior defensive line here for the Dolphins in round 4, and I'm going to go Simeon Barrow Jr. and keep him in the 305. Originally from Georgia, but went and was a Hurricane this past season, and I'd like to keep him in Miami. Why not? It's always fun to keep the Hurricanes and Dolphins intertwined, am I right? He actually was pretty solid this past year for the Hurricanes. Had 5.5 sacks, 30 tackles. He's a decent run stopper. He actually had a 7.8% run stop rate this past season for the Hurricanes. That defense was terrible. Most of you know that if you're a fan of both the Dolphins and Miami college football. But Simeon Barrow is not an incomplete reason why. I like his potential ability to be an interior pass rusher on that defensive line, but also help stop the run. I think having him work alongside Zach Sealer and learn behind Zach could really benefit him for the future. I'm a fan of Barrow Jr., and hopefully maybe he could stay in Miami. We're going to draft a quarterback here on day 3. Kurtis Rourke, the quarterback from Indiana. And this is someone that's a very intriguing prospect when you ask me. He is very accurate with the football, and he has a good live arm for the most part when inside the pocket. The issue with Rourke is his mobility. He actually played all season long with a leg injury that basically made him a statue inside the pocket. But even if he did not have that injury, he is still not that mobile of a quarterback. He is a standstill, throwback, in the pocket type guy. But you see his numbers on screen. Completed nearly 70% of his passes. Only turned it over 5 times. The Indiana passing attack wasn't the most dynamic in all of football. But when he was in the pocket, when he had time to throw the football, he delivered it with anticipation, with accuracy, and on the money. And one thing that he really excels at as well as a quarterback, the back shoulder fade. That's something that the Indiana passing attack prioritized. When he gets in that pocket, he hits that back foot. He sees man-to-man coverage on the outside. He knows where to put it on that back shoulder. He trusts his wide receivers to make the play, that chemistry, that rapport. I'm a fan of Rourke. You see his size, too, 6'5", 223. He is a big fella that can sit in the pocket, see over the defense, and make some reads. And not even just talking about Rourke, but the Dolphins need to draft a quarterback in a draft. And I think I will have a quarterback being selected in every mock draft I do this offseason. Just going to simply put it like that. That is how I am going to approach this 2025 NFL draft, because with Tua having the injury history and talks about him might not being the guy of the future, I think the Dolphins might and should draft a quarterback in the draft, as well as sign one in free agency. So whether it's Kurtis Rourke in round 5, whether it's Jackson Dart in round 2, or Jalen Milroe in round 3, I think the Dolphins should absolutely be looking and scouting some of these quarterbacks in the draft. And make sure you are subscribed to the channel, because when any Dolphins news happens, we will have you covered. We'll also be the #1 spot for NFL draft rumors, free agency rumors, all off season long. So hit that sub button and join the channel, because we're bringing you multiple videos on a daily basis. We're going to go over to the defense here in round 5 and go to Jay Higgins, the Iowa Hawkeye linebacker. This is someone that I have a man crush on. I am just going to be completely transparent with you. I love linebackers that can cover, but he has the speed and size to be a potential difference maker as an off-ball linebacker in the National Football League. And you're not looking for someone to be your starter. You have Jordan Brooks, 2 years more on his contract to be your LB1. But can you find someone to complement him in the middle of that defense for Anthony Weaver? Higgins, all over the football field. Turn on the tape. He has a knack for finding the football. He's an elite coverage guy as well. He had a 92.9 coverage grade according to Pro Football Focus this past season. He had 4 interceptions as well. He is someone that gets out in space and makes stuff happen. I am a big-time fan of him. And he's a good, pretty solid tackler as well, which I really enjoy. Had a 9.7% missed tackle rate that ranked in the about top 70 percentile of college linebackers. Jay Higgins is someone I am going to probably repeatedly bring up all mock draft season long as a day 3 target at linebacker if he does not climb up into the late day 2 portions of the NFL draft. All right, Dolphins have 3 seventh-round picks here because of comp reasons. We can kind of just cycle through these, Cullen. Cobee Bryant, cornerback out of Kansas. Dylan Fairchild, interior offensive lineman from Georgia. And then Bryson Nesbitt, tight end from North Carolina. I think 3 of these positions are pretty important for the Dolphins to recognize. I think they could use more cornerback depth after you saw Fuller go into his final year of his contract. Ramsey's getting older. Cam Smith looks like a bust. We already know about the interior offensive lineman needs. Just throw more darts at the dartboard with Dylan Fairchild. And then Bryson Nesbitt, I actually think is a really good fit in Miami. He's an athletic tight end. Not the best blocker, but he would work in this system of RPO, yards after catch type of guy, work behind Jonnu Smith. Nesbitt's someone I really like as a late tight end target for any team in the NFL. All right, let's re-show the mock draft here. Third one of the year, first one in the offseason. We go offensive line in round 1, Xavier Watson in round 2. We go back to the trenches in rounds 3 and 4, but also add Pat Bryant, the wide receiver, 6'3", 200 pounds out of Illinois in round 3 as well. And then we close out these 10 projected picks with a quarterback, Jay Higgins, and then 3 seventh-rounders at the cornerback position, the tight end position, and interior offensive line. Lengthy mock draft here, but let me know your thoughts on it. First one of the offseason, I need you to grade Roley's first mock draft, a.k.a. 3.0 of the 2025 cycle, A, B, C, D, or F. They say it's not a good mock draft if you don't get some Fs. So be honest with me. Let me know your thoughts on it down in the comment section. And that will do it for this episode of Dolphins Today. Make sure you are subscribed. As we continue to mention, we'll be the #1 home for Miami Dolphins draft content. We'll be live in late April for the NFL draft. I know we're still in early January, but make sure you hit that sub button because when draft cycle really rolls around in late March, early April, we'll be the #1 spot for it.